Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of my brand new show covering the entire series of Doctor Who. Doctor Who is one of my absolute favorite television shows. I have loved this series since I was a teenager. Back in the early 2000s, my brother Jared and I would watch Sci-Fi Saturday night on PBS. They would play Red Dwarf and Doctor Who back to back, I think like 10:30 to midnight. I loved those shows. Doctor Who was one of those shows that just stuck with me. It was so different than anything else that I'd ever watched. I just absolutely loved that show. In 2005, I was so excited to hear that it was coming back. Of course, there's really no way for me to watch it. As far as I knew, we didn't have cable, we only had PBS. Around the time of season 3, I found a way to watch it online, and I've been following it faithfully ever since. My friend Rachel Wagner, who we met through the Rotoscopers, this website that we both write for, she has a YouTube channel, and she was interested in watching Doctor Who, so during season 10 we reviewed all the episodes for her channel, and afterwards she was interested in watching it from the beginning, so we thought, let's do it again. And we recently started reviewing them again, sort of a podcast interview style format for her show, kind of a half-hour to an hour-long discussion, just going through the show from the beginning, episode by episode. On my channel, I'm going to be turning our discussion into sort of a more produced show. The full discussion is going to be on Rachel's channel. We'll sometimes be talking about a little bit more than each episode itself. We kind of got into a little bit of news this episode, so if you want to hear my thoughts about the new Doctor regenerating as a female, you can head on over to Rachel's channel for that. Okay, let's move on to our review of the very first episode of the rebooted Doctor Who, Rose.
I'm the Doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life!
So, in this first episode, basically, she's at work, and she's in the basement, and the mannequins start to come alive, and they start to attack her, and it's a pretty creepy scene, and she gets saved by this mysterious person. Well, it turns out it's of course the Doctor, and she has this boyfriend named Mickey. And then it ends up that Mickey is kidnapped and he's replaced by this weird, creepy plastic version of himself. And I guess those are autons.
Yes.
And so then it kind of ends with this battle between the autons, the people, and Rose and the Doctor. It felt sort of like a classic kind of horror vibe going on. I like the horror sort of feeling episodes of Doctor Who. I think that's a lot of fun. What did you think about this episode on a whole?
I really liked it. The Autons they're a classic Doctor Who villain. I don't think I've seen any old episodes with them. And from what I've heard, they're not always shaped like mannequins. They're living plastic, so they can be anything that's plastic. But I read online someone saying that at one point they were dolls and plastic flowers. I need to find this episode and watch it myself.
Well, they probably can be anything. I got the impression they could sort of morph into anybody.
Yeah, because basically they're made out of molten plastic and they can become anything. Yeah. So I think that it's a clever villain, that it's not something you see anywhere else. Like, what other show is going to have living plastic villains?
Well, and I think it really worked as the pilot for this new reboot, because they were able to sort of explain who the Doctor is, what was going on, without it feeling like here's exposition dump, boom, kind of.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
Yeah, it felt really natural, and you also got this sort of sarcasm, this witty nature of the Doctor. In just a few scenes, he was able to make an impact. And so I really enjoyed this episode. What do you think of Rose, sort of her introduction as a companion, and in this episode?
I really like Rose. There are some people who love Rose, obsessively love her, say she's the best companion ever. I don't know that I necessarily feel that way, but I love her anyway. I think she's a great companion, and while I have others that I like more than Rose, she is one of my favorite companions. I love her attitude. I love I love the people that's around her. In the old series, you would have companions. They would just come aboard the TARDIS and you'd never hear about their life outside of the TARDIS ever again. But with this new series, you see her family on a semi-regular basis. They'll go home from time to time. And I love her mother. And eventually, I love Mickey. I do not love him in this first episode. But he has some great character growth coming up. And I love Rose. I love her backstory. I love her family. She's just a great person to build the story around.
Yeah. Well, and she was smart and strong without falling into certain cliches. Like, she certainly wasn't like the sort of warrior woman, but she also wasn't sort of the ingenue, the sweet innocent. Like, she was a good, like, in between, I think, for a female character.
She was a good normal person.
Yeah. Exactly right. I agree. And I really did love the plastic Mickey. That was so creepy. It looked so weird.
my one beef with the show is that I thought it was really, really cheesy when he was eaten by the garbage can and the garbage can belched. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's so cheesy. I just roll my eyes every time it happens.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, well, the idea that she wouldn't realize that he was this weird plastic version is ridiculous. But like,
he was so shining. I don't know how she didn't see it.
He looked so weird. It's like she's going on a date with a Ken doll. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and I'm excited because I feel like with Stephen Moffat in the last season that we watched together, it was very like twist, and trying to create these story arcs and stuff like that. And so I can already tell, like, in this beginning part, that it's more sort of that it's not trying to manipulate you in that way as much. It's these more standalone episodes, and so I think I'm gonna really enjoy this season even more than the one I've seen.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Stephen Moffat like you do, but the first 4 seasons of Doctor Who are by far my favorite. Season 4 is probably my favorite season. I really like what Russell T Davies did with the show. I like how he portrayed the characters. I like the dynamic between the characters and the Doctor. I liked how he made the characters have lives outside of the Doctor.
Yeah.
I love everything that he brought to the show, and I miss a lot of that with Stephen Moffat's episodes. Like I said, I don't dislike Stephen Moffat, but I liked Russell T Davies' version of the show a little better.
Yeah. Who was the Doctor in season 4?
The next one's the 10th Doctor, David Tennant.
Right.
That was his last season.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, so moving on, I guess what grade would you give the episode 1 from between a 1 to 10?
Maybe an 8.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I give it an 8. I thought it was really solid, but it wasn't like my favorite I've ever seen. But it was really solid, a good way to start a new reboot.
By the way, did I mention it also travels in time?
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this first episode of my new Doctor Who review show. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work. I'm probably going to try and get one episode up every Friday. Probably going to expand that out later on, but until I get into an editing groove, I'm just going to do this once a week. So come back next week when we'll be talking about episode 2 of season 1, The End of the World. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then.